Coffee Series is the initiative of FINYE Hong Kong, and we are trying to invite, young entrepreneurs to come and share their experiences, and also provide a platform for everybody to network and learn, and gain some experiences and all that. So. Today, as part of our coffee series talk, we have invited Lamia, and I want to tell you a little bit about Lamia first. So, Lamia is the co-founder and COO of VD Labs. She studied in CUHK for her Juris Doctor degree and PCLL. Lamia leads the Seekr team on international exchanges and business deals. Her dedication towards the company and the team ensured that they have won many tech awards, such as Alibaba Jumpstarter and other accelerators. This is really difficult for me to pronounce. In addition, she leveraged her legal expertise in negotiating with conglomerates and championing inclusion in different business. She's a board member of numerous NGOs and specializes in AI, education, and policy reviews. So today she will be sharing with us her maybe some idea about, how she started her entrepreneurship journey, building a team, crafting project proposals, securing initial funds, approaching startup funds, competition, and of course the challenges she and her team must have faced during this journey. And okay, so without further ado, I'd like to invite Lamia. And meanwhile, thank you to Dimple Fusion for providing us with this venue. They have, provided is so thank you so much for sponsoring the venue. So thank you.
Hi everyone. Can I do without the mic? I think I can do without the mic, right? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. We've had several technical errors this morning, so I was like, I hope the mic doesn't fail. Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Lamia. I'm a lawyer by education and startup entrepreneur by profession. So a couple of years ago, and I'm talking about 4 years ago, I had just finished my undergrad in HKU, and I was thinking, okay, what do I do? I got an offer from law school, but then COVID hit, right? So when COVID hit, I'm like, oh wow, all of a sudden I have all of this time, for myself, and I started doing a lot of these volunteering work, and I specifically realized that people in like spaces with visual impairment, people who face some sort of blindness or visual impairment, nothing is truly being done for them. They don't have access to any resources, especially during COVID. What had happened was I was like giving these care packages to one of these ladies, and she was like, thank you for giving me this food, because given that I've completely lost my sight, I didn't know how to go down and get groceries done. I asked her, why didn't you call the NGOs? She said, NGOs are too swamped. They don't know what they're battling with, because COVID was just such a huge thing, taking over people's life. I saw that she was physically well, but because her kids, her grandkids, they were all abroad, and they didn't want to do the whole hotel quarantine situation, so they didn't come and see her as well. And then I realized that in today's day and world, with AI sort of accelerating, there's a lot we can do for people who are marginalized, people who are, let's say, differently abled. But no one truly takes the step because they do not know what is universal design. So I'll first talk about my startup a little bit, and then I'll talk to you about what are the resources out there in Hong Kong so that you can navigate in terms of funding and other sort of resources. Okay. I think I first want to say something. So, visual impairment, sometimes you don't know anyone. Does anybody know any visually impaired or blind people? Do you have anyone like that in your life? Why don't you raise up your hand? No, right? Okay. So you might think that this is very uncommon, but you'll be shocked by the statistics. So in the worldwide right now, there are 300 million visually impaired people. And it's usually due to like aging population, diabetes, age-related degenerative diseases. It is said that in the next 40 years, this number is going to be 900 million. So it's actually increasing. And as we get old, they tell you that there is only two things you can do. So the two things are: do you know what blind people use nowadays? Guide dogs. Canes. Yeah? Okay. Do you know how many guide dogs there are? There are only 40 guide dogs. Say up, 40. And do you know how many blind people there are in Hong Kong? 200,000. So I clearly saw that there's this mismatch of the number of people and the services that are available. And at Seekr, we have a saying. So we have a saying that says, dogs can't read and canes can't lead. So that's why how we created Seekr. Actually, I wish I'd brought the device with me today for a live demo, but I do have a video to show you towards the end. So Seekr is like a small, compact wearable. It's kind of like a GoPro. You just put it on your chest, you press that middle button, and then it either takes a video or a photo, and it tells you what exactly is in front of you. So like imagine, I wanted to come here. The Seekr would be like, oh, Dimple Restaurant is to your left. Do you want to enter? Something like that. And then it will tell you, oh, there's a table in front of you. Within 3 meters, there are a couple of chairs and table. There's one empty seat in front of a gentleman. Would you like to take a seat? So it operates like that. I won't go to the nitty-gritties of how the AI works, but more towards how the company is running, how are we sustaining ourselves. So as I mentioned, a couple of features that it's able to do. So it's able to do object recognition, tell you it's a table, tell you it's a chair, tell you a car is coming in front of you. Another simple thing is text recognition, reading menus, reading books, stuff like that. The most important and the most used feature is depth estimation. So within 3 meters, what is there? Within 5 meters, what is there? 10 meters, what is there? So it's all at the use of the user's decision whether they want to what length or what distance they want to see the Seekr work. And obviously it's a trilingual device: English, Cantonese, Mandarin. We're working on Bangla and we're working on Nepalese because there is a huge population in Hong Kong, and we do want to serve people who are visually impaired in those countries. Yeah. Okay, so I think one of the most important thing in any business would be market validation. I've told my team many times, and believe me, we've been running for 4 years now. If we're building something that no one's going to buy, we might as well stop our business right there. So we went through very intensive market validation. So market validation as in who are potential customers, who have signed the LOIs, who are willing to purchase this device in its initial stage, right? So we've got a total of like US 850,000 vouched for us, and we have a pending order. We've already given out we've launched this device already. And we've given it out to Hong Kong, around 300, 400 people in Hong Kong, 1,000 in the US. So that's how we operate. And this initial idea is, obviously you have your market validation, but we sort of want the Seekr device to be used in every amusement park, every public establishment. So, visually impaired people can enjoy the amusement park at their own pace. Let's say something like that. Okay. I think business model, not really. Okay, yeah. So what have we done in the 3 years that we've been in Hong Kong? So every day for our user, we've saved 3 hours of their time. So 3 hours that would otherwise be spent on, being lost, finding objects, and truly just struggling, right? And in 3 years, we've empowered them to do over 500,000 supermarket visits by themselves. So they actually take the Seekr device and then they go to supermarkets and they do their own shopping. So it tells them what exactly is in front of them. It reads the label of the packaging, stuff like that. And what we hope to do is actually regain the income. We did a rough statistics, and we've seen that people who use the device do opt for getting a much better job. The traditional job that is accessible to blind people is usually masseuse, but now with this, we are enabling them to enter corporate spaces and have a more professional career. And who are community partners? I think one of the most important thing of a startup is really, really naming your community partners. Community partners are your initial vouchers, but most importantly, your potential clients. So we have Thonghua Group of Hospitals, Hong Kong Blind Union, Ebenezer School of the Blind, New Hope School, and the list doesn't stop there. There are other few more as well. So, okay, I think one thing I also want to talk about is my team. So when Seekr started 3 years ago, we were just 3 people, Turzo, myself, and Rishika. And I just want to tell you the sacrifices we've had to make. So Rishika got a full-time job at Goldman Sachs. And she's like, hey, Lamia, this is very crazy, but if this business takes off, I will leave my Goldman Sachs job. I was a junior lawyer at a corporate law firm, and I was like, this is crazy. I don't. This is actually my second startup. My first one failed miserably, so I was really scared, and I was like, do I do this? And if I do, this could be something really big. So I left my junior lawyer position and hopped onto the Seekr wagon. Turzo had a full-fledged job paid for with a home in the US. He left that. He's like, you know what? If this crazy idea works out, we're going to be making millions. But most importantly, Turzo's grandfather is visually impaired. So he studied in HKUST, and his grandfather said, hey, you're an engineer, right? Why don't you build me something instead of building the fastest car that probably he's not going to use? So with the personal story, and of course with our heart and sort of like the perception of let's do this, because we don't know when we'll get back this time. So we jumped on it, and here we are 3 years now. 3 years later, we're a company with 10 people working in the Hong Kong office and in the US. We also have a team in Bangladesh with the rest of the other people. And most importantly, we are a sustainable revenue generating company. And I'll talk more about this in our next slide. So some global recognitions that we've got. Hi, have a seat. Some global recognitions we've got. I think what catapulted our career as a tech startup, is, for example, the Alibaba Tech by the Harbor program. So every competition and every pitch that we were doing, and we were doing this like for a year, going to every competition, whatever scrap of money they could give us, investing on the company ourselves, and not just about time, a financial investment as well. And finally, just last year, we got AIA, which is an insurance company, gave us their vouch and gave us $1 million to distribute the Seekr device amongst their team. Yeah, so the Turzo and I were co-founders, and we have a tagline: Seekr is AI for the VI, visually impaired. And last but not the least, right? I do want to talk a little bit about competition. So any startup, whether you're starting a salon or a restaurant or whatever, they're always asking you one question: what is your cutting edge? What are you doing differently than the other people? So I just want to say one thing that we can all do. You don't have to always reinvent the wheel. You don't always have to be like, oh, I'm the first restaurant, that like does volunteering work or something like that, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You could, for example, be that one-stop source for everything. So what Seekr is we have different price points. You'll see that we're the cheapest one that gets a fee. And I think what's more interesting is that there are so many other apps that offer text detection, object detection, but very separately. And what we have sort of done is combine all of them together into one hardware. So that's what our difference is. We don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. You can, as you are building your pipeline, there are things like low-hanging fruits and things that takes a little bit more effort. So low-hanging fruit meaning it's already been done. You just need to incorporate it, right? And then you have the other stuff. When you have success in the low-hanging fruit, it gives you a little bit of either financial security to at least plan out for the next 2 years. So Seekr, we've always planned our phase in 3 years. We just finished our phase 1, and we're doing phase 2, where we have a device much more smaller, leaner, and with more like AI facilities. So yeah, I think that's all I want to share about Seekr. If you do have any questions, I'll take them now regarding Seekr, and then I'll move on to the next one. So do you guys have any questions for me? Nope? Okay, perfect. I hope you understood what I said. I do have a quick video to show. Do you mind helping me a little bit? I do want to show you how the Seekr device works. It's a brief way of how the AI actually is facilitating to help the Seekr people. Can we get the new slide? Business proposal. Yeah. So that's how Seekr operates. And I actually had a testimonial video to show you guys. A testimonial video obviously makes the point more effectively from our users, but there might be a technical difficulty over there because I had to convert this into a PDF. All right, so I think the next bit we can move on from here is funding. Funding, obviously, very, very important. In the initial years, you will search for different types of funding. But if you see in the Hong Kong landscape, because Hong Kong is competing with Singapore, and obviously they're trying to build on tech, so you'll just feel like there's a lot more resources for technopreneurs. But what about for people who are not in tech, right? There are some resources, but I'm not going to get your hopes too high. They're very limited resources. So we will talk a little bit about those. I think the most important thing about funding is because the Hong Kong government really like divides companies as profit making and then non-profit making, and then we have social impact ventures. So I'm not really well versed with what you guys your guys' business is, but I'll try my best to cover everything so everybody leaves with at least one or two fundings that they could apply for. Yeah. I just do want to say one thing. You don't want to always rely on funding because they are gonna dry up, and you have to make sure that every dime that is invested in the company or every dime that is invested from these subsidies, you are able to turn them into a revenue. Otherwise, if you're relying on revenue, the average startup age for it to survive is 4 years. And if 4 years you're not generating, you're more likely to fail. And I'm talking about 99% chance that you're going to fail. Because in 4 years, if you cannot make a revenue, that means that either nobody wants to buy what you're selling, or there is some inherent difficulty or flaw within your organization that you've got to figure out. Okay. So, so first thing I want to talk about is objectives. I mean, today we're here to know more about funding, but most importantly, how to use this funding to scale up, to make your business bigger, and how to convert these funding into conversion. So either it works on your marketing or your sales. Very, very important. Okay, so I think it's very, very important to identify which funding stage you are in. So I will talk about these three. So pre-seed, that means you have a concept, you haven't registered your business yet, you want to create something. It could be anything, it could be non-tech related. It could be just an idea, basically. That is pre-seed. And usually the funding source for pre-seed people is your own self, your family, or your friends or fools. They're your essential first people that you go out for funding. Then the second bit is seed. So seed is more established. So let's say you have a product or a prototype, you have a running business, basically, like you're registered, you pay tax, blah, 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 and you're fundraising. But I do want to say one thing. So this pre-seed to seed is a very easy stage. But that doesn't mean you have accomplished yourself as a business, right? After seed, we have Series A, and then you can say that, okay, maybe somewhat you have created something that people want to buy. So Series A, meaning what? That means you are raising or earning money of 7 million Hong Kong dollars and above your Series A, and you're starting your first seed round, you're starting your first fundraising, which means you're going out to venture capitalists, angels, to go and do fundraising. Now, I just want to focus on these three. Why? They are the initial, very critical steps of a business, but most importantly, going on to, if you guys were Series B, Series C, Series D, you wouldn't be sitting here. You would probably be like, millionaires somewhere enjoying your vacation or something like that. So just want to talk about these three starting stages. Okay, so obviously, for people who have not started your company, you might want to take notes for this one. So there are checklists for early stages of startup, right? You first want to understand whatever your crazy idea is. And Seekr was a crazy idea when we first funded it, because we went to investors and showing them this, and they're like, this is too good to be true. And then we didn't receive funding for a year because they thought it was too good to be true. All the co-founders then put money, and then we developed the first minimal viable prototype. It was the ugliest thing you can see. It was so big, it was blue, and it was like so bulky. And I was like, no one is gonna use this. But for the people who are investing in your company, they just wanted to see you have an idea and you made a very minimal viable product. It might not be something that is sellable, but you have created something, gets their confidence up, and then they'll be telling you, okay, I'll give you $100,000, go work on it, fix it, make something that is sellable. $100,000 is not a money in this economy, to be very honest, but it gets you to start, basically. then obviously your core founding member. I do want to say this, like a lot of people fail because of this, and I can give you an example. So a couple of years ago, I think by the time I was graduating from HKU, I had my first startup. So my first startup idea was to create like there are a lot of people who are construction workers or something like that in places like Bangladesh and India, right? So I created something like a mobile phone app where the person who is hiring the constructors can swipe right and swipe left if they want that worker to particularly work in their factory. So what this means is daily labor is more regulated, and like people who are, let's say, not so highly educated would at least get a chance to work, and I was connecting these people. I went to the UK to actually pitch this idea. I was one of the top 6 participants, and they're like, this is a very viable idea. I was about to do it, but my team completely disintegrated in front of my eyes, and I can tell you why. A lot of us, when we go for startup, right, tech or whatever, we come in with the naive idea that, oh yeah, whatever, we're gonna do it. But when it comes to actually, physically doing it, you realize that this is not your passion. You realize that this is not what you want. So out of 2, we were 4 team members. One of them is still doing startup, but the other 2 got a very stable, secure job. They got a job at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. And I was like, you know what? If you take this job, I'm not going to blame you, because you want stability in your life, and you're going to get this by joining these jobs. But I remember my heart very much breaking, because we had a $5 million investment right in front of us. And that guy is like, I will make sure that you have companies in India, in Bangladesh, and you have this thing running around. And we walked away from it. Of course, we're being responsible, but we let go of a very, very viable idea. And I hope somebody does it, if anybody is interested. We let go of a very, very viable idea because my team disintegrated, and because different people want different things. And that's why before starting Seekr, we had a very difficult conversation. We're like, how many percent, equity do you want as co-founders? How much are you bringing to the table? Okay, if you're leaving, do you have a substitute? Co-founders, usually in the early stages, you don't have a substitute for yourself. So you've got to be like, you got to measure how much of a risk you're taking, and whether you're okay with taking this risk. I'm not saying that, okay, you don't have a stable income and you just like jump to the startup world. No, for us, we were working on Seekr full-time with our traditional jobs, and then we jumped onto Seekr when we realized that it's going to be something global, and it's expanding. And we all need to be there for the expansion. So I talked about minimum viable growth. Please register your business. That's also quite simple. I think also you got to do early stage administrative setup and finances. I also want to talk about IP, intellectual property. I know a lot of people are saying copyright, trademark, blah, 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 blah. But can I be honest here? As an early stage startup, if somebody does copy your designs, do you have any money to sue them? No, you don't. So that's why early stages, forget about IP. I had a lot of lawyers talk to me, hey, patent Seekr, you have to trademark it, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. I don't have that kind of capital. I even told one professor, I don't have that kind of capital. Do you want to pay for it? These are huge, huge legal expenses. And let's be honest here, if somebody copies us, we're not going to be able to sue them. We don't have that kind of money. No subsidy is available for your legal troubles, right? Therefore, I would say you don't have to do it until you really have to do it. That's what I tell people. We just trademarked Seekr just last year. One of the reasons is because we had the money and we were going global. If you're going global, obviously you want to protect your IP. You don't want global competitors to copy your ideas. Product market fit. So product market fit is something that is it's not difficult, but you need to get this completely right. Because I mentioned, if you're creating something that nobody wants to buy, then don't build it. Just shut it down. No one's gonna buy it, right? Product market fit is when you go and meet your actual people or clients or end users of the device. So we had like 150 focus groups before we came up with the Seekr idea, because we wanted to build something with the visually impaired community. So I remember going physically to their homes with the surveying sheet and then marking down what their difficulties were. If you cannot pinpoint the difficulty or anything innovative in your idea, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to at least have your first go. But like I mentioned, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. You do not. If somebody else is doing something you want to copy, fine. But what is your edge? That is something that your investors will ask you. Investor pitch, sort of like what I showed you. This is too much. but I just want to focus on one or two things. So I've always asked, like investors have always asked me these questions. So why? So what is your purpose? And who are you serving? And what is the difference you're trying to make? And that's what makes Seekr very, very different. Because when we tell our purpose, which is visually impaired people should live independently with the Seekr device, they understand it, they get it, right? They might not understand the nitty gritties of the tech, but we don't need them to understand that, right? Then when we talk about the difference we're trying to make, it's quite translatable in that one sentence. I think also what we should do whenever we're talking to investors is they always ask you where you see yourselves in 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Now, I can't answer that question for each and every one of you because you guys have your own businesses, but we have our own answers as well. And sometimes it's not about getting the answer right or wrong. It's about showing them you see something in the next 5 years. You see longevity in your business. Okay, so funding time. So these are some of the funding that I have seen that is available. So I'll just briefly go on it. So let's say you have an idea, you have not launched your business yet. So the first two organizations that will come into your head is Hong Kong Science Park and Hong Kong Cyberport. Now, science and cyberport, that is very tech related, right? The reason being is that tech in its initial early ideas, tech businesses are 99.9% going to fail. So the Hong Kong government allocates $100,000 to you, to your team. You can apply for this alone, but they like to see you in pair. So for example, Turzo is an engineer. I'm a lawyer. Reshika, who's our third co-founder, she's like an AI expert. This team makes sense. Okay, yeah. If there is any legal trouble with the AI, Lamia will handle it. Oh, if there is a physical component in the tech part, Turzo will handle it. Oh, if there's software glitch, Reshika will handle it. So you need to create a team that makes sense, right? You all bring your skill set and you're building something. Cyberport also has the same funding, about $100,000. I do want to mention one thing though. Cyberport will deduct money from you for renting spaces. So they have they have their own office areas, and what they do is they deduct the money of your rental from the $100,000, even if you're not using that space. So Science Park did the same with me. We were not using Science Park spaces. We were working from our homes, but they still deducted the money. So that's just part of their condition. It's not a lot of money though. I just want to flag that out. So also want to say this one, the Hong Kong Young Entrepreneur Program, that's an accelerator. You go there, you don't have to be tech. You go there, you have an idea, you see if this is scalable, and it's for, there's an age restriction, 18 to 30 years. So do want to mind that. And then we have the GBA. So now what's happening, Hong Kong is also trying to, promote the GBA, the Greater Bay Area, promote your ties with China. So if you have a business idea that has like some sort of ties with China, you're definitely going to get funding. So that's one of their top promotions and agendas. So incubation program. So now you have a business. You're no longer just an idea. You have a minimum viable product. So HKSTP then takes you to an incubation program. So first is pre-seed. This is for seed, people who are in the seed stage, okay? So what is up there? You can get $800,000. $800,000 to now take your seed to somewhere else. So let's say it could be expansion in Hong Kong, expansion in the US, whatever. You have a minimal viable product now, right? And HKSTP has incubation. This is again for technology. HKSTP has IncoBio, so that's again for biology students. But let's talk about us. What are we accessible to, right? So we are accessible to Cyberport incubation program. What is the catch here? You have to graduate from their pre-seed to get into this. This is not tech, by the way, guys. So another heads up. And then if you're like, well, I started my startup journey in university, so I was eligible for the TSSU fund. It can be up to $5 million, but again, the catch here is you need a professor to vouch for you that you will handle this money responsibly, and you're going to make this product available or work on the tech bit. Okay. Again, a lot of R&D stuff. So if you're someone who wants to focus on research and development, not necessarily build up product, but just focus on particular research I can actually give you an example of one company doing that. There's a company called STEM Chargers, and the idea that they're doing is they're converting fast portable chargers to make your phone even like in a small portable charger. So they're not a product that is out. They're just doing R&D. So they're eligible for this sort of funding. Another thing that they do is STEM internship scheme. So internship scheme meaning you take different university people to come to your organization. You can take up to 5, and each one's salary is $10,000. The university will pay for it. You don't have to pay for this cost. Okay. This one is startup growth and expansion. That means you're already Series A, right? So Series A, what's happening here is you have a lot of programs supporting you to mainland China. But if I'm being very honest, none of these schemes here will really help you if you are not a tech business in this region. Because if you're a Series A business, suppose you have your own sort of angels and investors lining up for you. So Series A funding is, like you can say, there's only 3 funding. People do, like, I think the most popular one is TVP. Basically helps small businesses, like let's say a restaurant. It will help you adopt technology into your restaurant, make things more efficient, make things more fast. But other than that, it's not necessarily a revenue generating portion of your company. Okay. What are the other fundings out there? Non-tech people. If you are doing anything related to importing, exporting, there's something called the SME, small and medium-sized enterprise export marketing fund. So what goes on there? Say that you have an idea, and not just an idea, you are basically the middleman of export and import. The Hong Kong government gives you about $100,000 to travel overseas to promote your business. It could be a trade exhibition that you want to go to. It could be like other type of stuff. Like apart from exhibition, there's like global conferences that you want to go to, or trade fairs that you want to go to. The Hong Kong government gives you about $100,000 for this, but there's a catch here. The catch is 50% of that should be contributed by the enterprise. So for example, if I am putting my own $50,000, the government will match my $50,000. If I'm putting $100,000, government will match my $100,000. So total is $200,000. The limit is $800,000. You cannot go beyond that, like cumulatively. So the maximum, let's say, us entrepreneurs can put in is $400,000. But that's quite a big amount of money for just a trade fair or attending exhibition. So they've deliberately done this to of course like support entrepreneurs to go abroad, but also to put your own investment in this, not just the government investment. And then we have the BUD fund. We also got the BUD fund. So what is this? It's all about branding, upgrading, and increasing your domestic sales. So I just want to talk a little bit about how much this is. So the most you can get from this program is 7 million. But let's be honest here, 7 million, you have to have a very good proposal that why you're taking that 7 million for your branding, and your domestic sales. So again, this is another catch, 50-50. How many amount you put in, the government will match that amount. It cannot exceed the 7 million. But also another catch is, we have to do, there's a very technical glitch, but how we always have to pay tax audit fees, right? Your audit fees cannot be more than $10,000 if you're into this. So that there are these nitty-gritty elements available. So you cannot, if your auditor is charging you more than $10,000, then they're immediately disqualified. Sometimes the government will actually give you their list of auditors for you to select from. Yeah, so that was the last funding. Now I want to talk about social enterprises. So Seekr is like a social enterprise, right? Social enterprise means very simple thing. You want to do a profitable business with either a impactful outcome or a sustainable outcome. So nowadays, in if you look at the startup space, especially in Hong Kong, they're filled with social enterprises. I can tell you a couple. Like, for example, there is one organization called ClearBot, and what they're doing is they clean the trash from the ocean. So they've got projects to clean the dirty oceans and rivers and seas in India. They're doing that. They were also doing this in Hong Kong. Another social enterprise startup that I can remember is Hollow. So what they do is, let's say you have cancer, right? And unfortunately, the outcome is you're going to die. What they do is they help you regulate your emotions using AI. They help you learn to accept that you're going to die and how to live purposefully in those remaining months or years that you have. So there are many startups that are in the social impact space. But if I'm being honest, they all start with these fundings. Good seed funding up to $300,000. It is available for not just universities. Well, if you're in university, then you get a more leverage. You get a little bit more leverage. But Impact Incubator and all of those other startups, you don't have to be in university. You just have to show that you have got in the seed stage and you're planning to go to Series A, and you definitely will crack on these applications. So, giving you another example, Impact Incubator is also $300,000. Other funding, they very much vary, but one thing that you guys can all, like, if you're into social enterprises, you can be a part of the B Hub startup, and then they have B Hub prototype. So let's say you want to create a hardware but you don't have the resources, this is where you go. And for post-revenue, that means you're making revenue, post-revenue social startups. These are, again, tech-related. And usually what you have to do is not only that you're doing some sort of social impact, but you also have to do something that is sustainable. So let's say if I'm trying to make Seekr a green company, we are only doing impact business, impact investors. We're not going beyond that. So making our company green, sustainable, ban of plastics, something like that. So the government allows certain amount of funding for those. So those are all the information that I have regarding startups. Like I mentioned, a handful of funding actually helps non-tech startups, and it's, again, like I mentioned, Hong Kong is trying to compete with Singapore to become a tech hub, an AI hub to be more specific. But without like ending this on a sad note, there are opportunities, there is money, but let's say you are a startup. You have an idea, you have made a business, but sometimes within your community, there are opportunities. So let's say I'm ethnically from Bangladesh, born and raised in Hong Kong. We do have a Bangladesh community that sees who are the young entrepreneurs. They try to provide different support. For example, if there's a Chamber of Commerce events, they will invite the young entrepreneur to do promotion over there, get you connected to investors. So yeah, that's basically the whole idea of startups. So if you guys have any questions, or if I could help you in any capacity, even as a lawyer, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lamia. It was very insightful, very informative. Really, really thankful to you. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Maybe while you're thinking, maybe I have a question for you. When, I think the first thing that comes to our mind when we want to do something new is, oh, I will fail, right? That's one of the biggest fears that people have. And you mentioned about the first startup which failed. We want to know about it. I want to know about that. And what was it like, the failure part? And also, what does hard work look like? 2 questions. What was a failure like? And also, what does hard work behind Seekr, look like? I'm sure it was tough because you were a student when you started this. So how do we manage those, challenges, which is not just tangible, but also emotional, mental challenges and all that? Thank you.
So failure, right? So failure, I think one thing that any sort of education fails to teach us is the acceptance of failure and failing fast, failing hard. Why I say this is because in a startup, right, it is very, very crucial you fail. And people are like, oh my God, what is she saying? you have to fail and fail fast, because if you are at a stage, let's say seed or series A, and then you fail, that is a lot of things that you have to recoup for. So recoup, when I say this, what does that mean? That means it's not just financial assets that you are playing with that goes into loss, but there's people's life. Your team is growing, right? You're accountable for the salaries, stuff like that. So unfortunately, like I said, in any education system, when you think about failure, they're like, oh, shameful, hide it, disgraceful. What is your family going to say? What is your uncle going to say? No. Startups, like I said, 99.9% are bound to fail. My startup failed because, like I said, there is a component, there's an element of startup. You need to have the right team. You need to have the right idea. Do you have product market fit? If any of those things you fail, then your business is going to fail. But you should take a step back, reevaluate what it is. The first thing I reevaluated was I didn't have passionate enough team members who would plunge into the financial insecurity of a startup. But I don't blame them. Still have good relationships. It's just we need people with different mindsets. If this fails, do you have a safety net? I always have a safety net. So I was an arts major in HKU, and I was going into law, and then I thought I had a set career. I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be corporate, and I'm going to be an associate, and then I'm going to be a partner. No, it doesn't always have to be there. Yes, your motivations, your incentives could change, just like mine did, and that's completely fine as well. But how you deal with failure, again, very personal thing, but you need to really be okay with it. Be like, thank God I failed now, so that my losses are reduced. I'm not making major losses. So what the next question Anju said is, what does hard work look like? And I mean, I'm too young to say this, but when I think of hard work, one word always pops into my mind. It's called resilience. So I have had in my early 2 years of Seekr, up until I had the prototype, I had a lot of people say no to me. But whatever people say, I am with my own eyes was seeing my team grow. I was like, okay, today we don't have a prototype. Today we have a minimal prototype. Oh, today we have a prototype that would sell. So because I was seeing my own progression, and the naysayers, whoever they were, do not matter. In fact, I have a funny story to tell you. I was in my co-founder was in a tech competition by HKSTP. And he is a very his heart is in Seekr, obviously because of his grandfather, but he's such a technically savvy guy, so he takes the failures of his tech a bit too harsh on himself. And I remember after his presentation, everybody said, great idea, great idea, great idea. But one judge came up to him, because the judge was really kind, and I thank him for his honesty. He said, look, Turzo, you will go to 1 million competitions, but I will tell you right now, no one's going to fund you. Why? Because you don't have a prototype. You are telling me this great idea. How do I trust a university, a college student can build this thing up? Do you know who you're up against? You're up against Google. He said something like that. So that clarity made us understand what our first step is. Build a prototype. And then from there on, we continued. But again, every single day, that resilience, right? I'm going to continue doing this. I don't know who my funders are. I don't know how much money it is. I don't know how long it will take my company to succeed. Am I willing to put my head down and continue to work? So I think that's what hard work and resilience looks like. It's resilience, everyday people, doing whatever they want. And even though there are, let's say, a lot of people who disagree with you, but you still continue. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Because one of the things that I also see in myself, and
Yeah.
I think maybe lots of young people will come across is that they don't know how to start. What's the first step that they should take?
Yeah.
There is so much information,
Yes.
so many resources,
Yes.
that they're kind of lost in the sea of information. So how
Yes.
do you guide?
So if I'm being honest, the first step to anything is, do you have an idea? Do you have a team to execute it? Do you know who your potential customers are? If you have these 3 answered, you're set. You're set. Sometimes, you don't even need to have a team. Do you believe in your capabilities to carry this business forward? And that's oftentimes the most hardest thing. People are And you know, us as rational beings, and I'm not saying that we're pessimistic, but being practical, and especially people in business, we are sometimes too critical of ourselves. We're sometimes too critical of, this is going to fail and this is how I'm going to recoup my glow. Just take a chance and feel like, oh, if it worked out, what would that look like? Show that dream to people, and I'm pretty sure that people would invest in your idea. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, could you repeat that? Yes, patent, yes. Yes. Oh, okay. So I just want to say something. Anything and everything is patentable as long as it's an idea. So let's say when I say trademark, people say trademark your logo. Trademark the Seekr logo. Where's the Seekr logo? So when there are different things, right? There's copyrights. Let's say people should not be able to copy your idea. Then we have trademark of logos. The thing I said about that in specific, right? Doesn't have to be a hardware software. It could also be a restaurant. It could also be like a electronic store. You are safeguarding something that you have created. That's what it is. That's what intellectual property means. The thing that I mentioned about intellectual property is for any company that is in this pre-seed stage, you don't have money. Because let's say, I can give you an example. I wanted to I want to trademark the Seekr logo. Do you know how much they asked me? They asked me for $700,000. And then, yes, yeah. Patent, yeah. Yeah, so it could be, so what we have done now is not just logo, our software, our hardware is patented. So nobody can copy our AI software or our, let's say, our hardware. That's what the IP is. Does that answer your question? Seen, yeah, yes. No, they are our own algorithms. That's why they are not open source. That's why we have an AI engineer. She built the code one by one, not open source at all. Yeah. Because, you know, for open source, right, they don't have Cantonese. They don't have Bangla, Nepalese languages, or even just, let's say, depth estimation and all of those functions. We have our algorithms, and that's why we are patented, not just in Hong Kong, but also in the US. So nobody can copy us over there. I want to, again, say something. Like I said, of course, this gentleman is very forward-thinking to talk about patent. Do so if you think your idea is going to be copied, but in the early stages, nobody has the funding. That's what I want to highlight. $700,000, who's going to cough that up? No one. So but I also want to mention something. There are lawyers who do pro bono, and I'm not well versed with pro bono lawyers, but because I'm in the legal community, I know one or two that offered to help me to do this on a pro bono basis. Very lucky to have found them randomly. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. Yes. So my company is from seed moving to Series A, and I think there are some people in this room who've met me even before I had started a company. Am I correct? Yeah, there are some people who've seen me even before my company. At the moment, my company, as I mentioned, I won't disclose the figure, but we've got investments. One of the reasons I can't disclose it because I'm still in negotiation with some conglomerates. Another thing I want to mention is that as we are heading to Series A, I'm actually flying off to the US today. So we are not just relying on investors. We are, like I said, we are a revenue company. My co-founder right now is in Australia. I'm heading to US with my team. We are expanding. We started off as a team of 3. Now we have a Hong Kong team, Australia team, a US team, and a Bangladesh team. And it's all been done in the span of 3 years. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know what? Thank you for that question. I've seriously thought about it. And at the moment, and it's not just about Nepal, but we have to be cost conscious. We can't just be opening offices everywhere. But we would love to. We are right now starting or thinking about distributorship. So we're trying to contact Nepalese vendors in Nepal to work with the NGOs to give the Seekr device. But obviously, before we do that, we need to insert the Nepalese language. So my team is still working on that. And we hope to, not just like I mentioned, developing countries like Bangladesh. We really need these type of devices because technology adoption is generally quite low in Bangladesh, but the people who need it the most are also in Bangladesh. So we definitely would love to expand to other countries apart from Australia, US, and Hong Kong. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We'll never forget. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions or yeah? Yes. So there are actually two ways to do this. There's global patents and local patents, right? So we didn't do global patents, and one of the reasons we didn't do that was because of cost, to be very honest. We patented in countries that we already have either distributorships or we have offices in as our first move. Yeah, there are two types of patents. Yes, correct. Yeah. Yes. How long did it took 1 year? It took 1 year. But once we made the prototype, and I don't have a photo of the prototype with me right now, but once we made that very big, ugly prototype, the next development happened in 3 months, because things got faster once we had something initially rough. Yeah. No, we made it in-house. Like I mentioned, Turzo deals with the hardware, Reshika deals with the software, and I deal with the business, partnerships, legal, anything other than that. So we do have a very strong team in that regard. Yeah. Everything was in-house. Yes. My first startup. Oh, I failed pre-seed. Yeah, so my first startup, we failed pre-seed. Why? Like I mentioned, pre-seed checklist, we failed on the team member bit, but also the tech, the app that I was talking about was built. We were building it, and we'd shown it to an investor, and obviously the investor doesn't see the day-to-day of your life, right? The investor doesn't see, or at that moment did not see my teammates, how dysfunctional we were because we wanted different things. So we failed pre-seed, and like I mentioned, I think about it often, like, oh, could I have taken that money? It would have been very irresponsible for us to do so, knowing that we are going to disintegrate after that event. So yeah, pre-seed, thank God. Yes.
In the span of 3 or 4 years, what has been your personal favorite milestone?
If I'm being very honest, I have had two to three personal favorite milestones. So my first favorite milestone was when Alan Zaman gave us the Alibaba Entrepreneurship Award. And I can tell you, when they had announced first, second, third, afterwards I was just very upset. I was just very upset. But what had happened was when they announced my name for best diversity and inclusive practice, I still remember I dropped my phone and started running on the stage. I was like, oh my God. So that was the first one. The second thing that really made me realize that what we were doing was quite impactful was there's an old lady who was very resistant to the AI technology. She's like, Lamia, what have you created? I'm not going to use it. I'm so old, blah, blah, blah. When I gave her the Seekr device, she fell in love with it. She took the device and went to the streets and then started clicking everywhere, like turning the device back in front and all of that. So that made me realize I'd created something that people who are old will also use. And that was a positive sign. Third one was, so I was in LA a couple of days back, and I met Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy. Chris Hemsworth, the guy who is Thor, and I was like, damn, I love my job. Like, I get to meet these people. So those were my three highlights up to now. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And so we would like to give you a token of love. So for that, I would like to request our president, Mr. DK Dahal, to come forward and hand you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.